I know there's a lag, so that's why I hit the refresh. Do you have LinkedIn running?
I don't have it running. No, not right now. I know we're live though. I see that on the screen.
It hasn't caught up to LinkedIn yet.
Okay, I'll follow your lead.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this extra special edition of our GGC LinkedIn webinar series. Today, we are leading with resilience. We're going to be talking about mindset. We're talking about mental health, and we're talking about how LinkedIn can help shape your next chapter. I am Joanne Gore. I am the president of Joanne Gore Communications, and I am here with my dear friend, David Rosendahl, who is the co-founder and president of Mindfire Inc., as well as a co-founder of Sheet for Brains. And I like to consider myself an honorary member of this amazing movement, which we will be talking about more towards the end. I've also got a really cool announcement to make, so please stick around till the end. Some exciting things to talk about coming up, specifically with Sheet for Brains. So I will just leave that teaser now. So I just also want to let everybody know that David, are you okay with Dave or David? Do you have a preference at this point?
Either is fine. Yeah, okay. No worries.
Dave is traveling. He is in Oklahoma talking about some really cool things. We could probably spend the entire conversation just talking about that. So we have already experienced some technical issues. So if Dave disappears, fear not, he will be returning. Again, we are all going deep breaths because we will get through whatever technology throws at us. A little bit of housekeeping as we start. Please follow me on LinkedIn. I've highlighted in orange. You can find me as Joanne Gore 121. I've been on LinkedIn for a while, since 2004, one of the OG members. David, not too far behind. He joined in 2008. David, welcome. And take a minute to introduce yourself while I take a deep breath and get us ready for what we're going to be talking about.
Absolutely. So Joanne, when you said that you're an honorary member, we call ourselves Sheethead. So I think you're a honorary Sheethead there. I appreciate you being a part of the movement. And yeah, just to say hello to everyone. I don't know, can we see the chat here? Joanne, I don't know who's here.
You should be able to. I was going to ask people to head into the chat and please let us know where you're from. I'm going to be, we've got the JGC team moderating the chat. I've got LinkedIn running on my other screen. So when I can, I'm going to pop in and look at what people are saying. Eric Wessels is on right now. I don't know if you can see it. Carol Michelin, the GGC team, Alicia, Rob, Suzanne, like the house is filling up with so much love. I'm really excited.
Great. I'll head over there on LinkedIn and take a look as well. But folks, if you're there online, can you drop a hello there in the chat just so we know you're there? Just drop a hello so I can see your name and we can say hi to you. But yeah, Joanne, I'm here in Oklahoma. I actually am with a client, Warren Cat. I showed you this earlier. They are a Caterpillar dealer here in Oklahoma, and they serve this state and West Texas. And a little bit about me. So I am the co-founder of Mindfire, as you mentioned, Joanne. And if you don't know our company, we live at the intersection of offline and online marketing, so digital and analog marketing, really bringing those two different channel types together in what we call omni-channel. And at the core of that, it's enabling our clients to measure marketing attribution. So you're doing all this marketing across different channels, you're synchronizing all of those messages with the Mindfire platform. But at the end of the day, what matters is, can we show revenue back to those channels, and can we start to understand what's actually driving the results that we're looking for, so we do more of that and less of what's not working. That's all the business stuff. Of course, AI is a big part of that now. And so I'm here meeting with clients and having a great time.
Love it. I'm going to warn everybody in advance. Dave and I don't know, there's like this Vulcan mind meld thing that happens. And if we manage to get through one question, I will be shocked, even though I have a few on hand. So normally these things run for 45 minutes. I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. However, we are all willing to stay through the top of the hour. If the conversation is going well, we're eager to hang out with you and continue that conversation. But of course, if you have to leave, we will do our darndest to get through this in 45 minutes. So a couple things. If you've been to our webinars before, I always like to lead with a couple of statistics just to sort of frame the conversation. And today specifically, of course, we're talking about mental health. So here's some stats on stigma when it comes to mental health. And I want you to sort of think about what your opinions are when it comes to mental health and the stigma around it. In a 2019 survey of working Canadians, of course, I'm in Canada, just north of Toronto, in a lovely place called Holland Landing. 75% of Canadian respondents said that they would be reluctant or would refuse to disclose a mental illness to an employer or coworker. And I personally can relate to that. But 75%, 76% of respondents stated that they themselves would be completely comfortable with and supportive of a colleague with mental illness. So I'm already starting to think it's kind of like you feel really good when you help people, but it's very difficult to ask for help. And even when it will give joy to the person on the other end. So again, it's this strange dichotomy. As respondents were nearly 3 times less likely to want to disclose a mental illness like depression than a physical one like cancer.
Yep.
And what are the 3 top reasons? And while I'm going through these, I want everybody, please head to the chat on a scale of 1 to 5. How comfortable are you discussing your own mental health? Of course, this isn't mandatory, whatever you're comfortable with, but please, I would love it if you guys could.
What is 5, Joanne? Very comfortable?
Very comfortable is 5.
Okay.
Would not even open my mouth for it is 1. So the top reasons for this reluctance, let's see if people agree with this. The belief that there is stigma around mental illness, not wanting to be treated differently or judged, and being afraid of negative consequences, such as losing one's job. So all of this is going to really segue into the very first question that I'm about to ask you, David. So I'm seeing 4s, 2s. Let me ask you, David, on that scale of 1 to 5, where would you put yourself on? Without going into it, because I know we're going to hit on it next. How comfortable are you discussing your own mental health?
Yeah, I threw in 5. If 5 is most comfortable, I'm now at a point where I'm okay talking about it all.
Yeah, I'm just put in mind. Sorry to say, I'm still at a 2. I'm doing better.
That's good.
No, I still have a lot of maybe it's generational, but there's just a lot of I'm one of those. I will gladly help you, but it's very hard for me to ask for help. I admit that I am that person.
I just saw our mutual friend Deborah Korn throw 0 in the chat. And Deb, I'm just curious if you could share why. I'm always interested in learning the why behind people's scores. So Deb, thanks for sharing that and being vulnerable. Curious why.
So yeah, if you wouldn't mind, we can take it offline or throw it in the chat. But yeah, it's very honest. I think the question was whether it's a professional setting as well. So yes, in a professional setting. So yeah, zero comfort. It's hard. It's really hard. So I teased it out, of course. 2 or 3. Here we go. Oops, I went to the wrong one too quickly. See, this is what happens when you let me loose on the controls here. Out of the mouth of babes. This is, at this point, I would almost call it an infamous post.
Mm,
And honestly, when I first read it, I was like, I don't know how you just did that, how you just put it out there.
yep,
You have been extremely open on LinkedIn regarding your mental health journey. You've said you're at a 5
yep,
now.
yep.
I'm not sure if this was the catalyst or not, but this was a huge catalyst for me. What was the catalyst, and what's been the impact of your opening up and you being you?
That's a great question. I mean, there are many things that contributed to that, Joanne. I would say that, there's the catalyst around why mental health is important to me. That's one question. But the other is around why I share it on LinkedIn. And I think it has to do with going back to, I want to say around 2017, 2018. I don't know if Brian Galad is here. You know Brian as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Another LinkedIn influencer, if you will. And at that time, I was,
Canadian,
yeah,
Canadian.
Canadian. There you go. Yeah. At that time, I was studying, pretty intently, how do you engage and get attention in channels that are inundated and crowded as part of, what I do in my day job, so to speak. And so I was looking at, people on LinkedIn, and honestly, folks, most of the time when people share on LinkedIn, it's just, you know, uh, I don't know how to describe it. It's like PR speak, it's stiff corporate stuff, right? And what I noticed just by looking at what gets attention and what drives engagement is that when people would share something personal, almost more like Facebook back in those days, when the Facebook thing would happen on LinkedIn, I noticed that engagement went up. So part of it was just my eye kind of around always looking at what's driving engagement from a consumer perspective. That's part of just how I'm wired. And so as I did that, I started to think, all right, I was watching Brian and others online. How are they doing it? What stories are resonating? And then really retreating and thinking, okay, what's authentic to me that I could share? And there were a number of kind of pillar themes that I identified that I could see a intersection between, that theme and my work. And so I just really intentionally kind of created a matrix of what those things were to try to live life authentically through my business as well as on LinkedIn. And mental health became one of those things that I got increasingly comfortable talking about. And then when the pandemic hit, when, COVID-19 happened, does everyone remember that? I know it seems like it was I don't know, a bad dream or a long time ago,
It
but
was a lot longer for us. Let me just leave
yeah,
it at that.
yeah. When the pandemic hit, I don't know if I'm sure you remember, Joanne, and others of you here remember as well, because I still get people talking about this. There was a point in time, and it might sound like I'm exaggerating here, but there was a point in time where we thought, are we all going to die? Right? Is this really like how everything ends? Maybe that's just me. But as I was thinking about that and realizing that other people had those questions, concerns, worries, frustrations, just kind of a lack of understanding where things were headed because it was so new for all of us, we leaned into just supporting people, supporting our community, the print community, the graphic arts community, the marketing community at large, the LinkedIn family at large. And so it was through leaning in that way that I started to see, you know what, people, if you engage them on a personal level, there's so much depth there. I didn't realize this as a younger business professional, that if you start there, or make that a part of your conversation, it's really remarkable what happens from there. So that's kind of the catalyst behind it, Joanne.
um, just as I figured out how to change the slide. Thank you. Could you explain to those who may be seeing this for the first time the whole sand thing and the
Yeah.
arrow, and because dad
Yep.
is like, yeah, like just yeah. I think
Yeah.
folks who have not seen this post are going, what the hell?
Yeah, for sure. And so folks in the chat, if you remember us engaging with you, or if you remember me engaging with you during the pandemic, I'd love to know who still remembers that here in the chat, because I'm always surprised by people who come up to me or to us at trade shows, conferences, and are like, hey, you know what, you really gave us hope. And Joanne, one of the things I realized before I answer your question here is that, from kind of a marketing perspective on LinkedIn, what's easy to forget is that when we share our stories, when we share information on LinkedIn, it's not only the people who engage with like a thumbs up, or even better with a comment, but there's all these people who are seeing the stuff who sometimes don't have the confidence to comment or engage, that are still impacted by your message. And so often people come up to me and they say, hey, such and such touched me. And I'm like, really? I don't even know who you are. And this has been with you for so long. And it's just, that's really touching. That's really,
That's
really
powerful.
motivating. Yeah. Very powerful. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking at you, Deb. I see your message there in chat. Thank you. So what you're seeing here on the screen, folks, this goes back, I want to say 3 years ish. One of our daughters, Emmy, we have 4 kids. She's the second oldest. And at the time, she was having some behavioral issues that we wanted to get some help for. And so we took her to therapy. I'm a big believer in therapy. If you are a believer in therapy, let us know there in the chat as well. But we took her to therapy, and it was one of these things where she went, 1 week, and then she would go with mom the second week, and then with dad the third week, and then, back on her own the fourth week, kind of alternating. And so one of the times it was my turn to go, and the therapist was having her do sand play, like what you're seeing here on the screen. Maybe you've done this with your kids, if you have anything like this going on in your life. And the therapist asked her, hey, just show me what your living room looks like. And so Emmy, grabbed all these things, and you can see the TV is there on the right-hand side. You can see my wife. She's kind of in a wedding dress and what looks to be like a beer can in her hand. It's not beer. It's just what was available. I think it's supposed to be Coke. But the point of it here is that the therapist asked her, hey, what's going on here on the bottom left of what you're looking at here on the screen? And what that's showing, according to Emmy in that moment, was, well, that's dad in his recliner, which is right there in the living room. And the therapist said, well, what's that thing on his chest, that rock on his chest? And she's like, well, that's his phone, because he's always on his phone. Well, what are these coins around dad? And she said, well, it's a wall of money, because all dad cares about is money. And I was like, oh my freaking God. We were here to work on issues for her, and it ends up that I realized that it's much about me, us, and my part in this as it is about Emmy and what she was going through. And so obviously I felt like a punch in the gut, but Joanne, I think that was the catalyst behind realizing that, I got to change the way I think about mental health, not only my own, but how it's impacting my family, how it's perceived by others, how it's perceived in the workplace. And so when I shared that post, I wanted to give people, first of all, just permission to be vulnerable themselves, and second, some encouragement to think about how their own mental health, if they're keeping it private, if they're keeping it inside, is impacting other people. So that's kind of the story behind the post.
That's, I still like, I can't look at that post very, like I can't, like putting that, it was hard for me because I feel like the same, like I'm you sitting there, and that's the perception of me, always on my phone, and all I care about is money. And it's,
Yep.
As I said, I'm now a 2, so I'm
Yep.
making progress.
Yeah. I know
thank
that,
you.
yeah, could you go back one slide? Just one other thing on there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I have a dear friend, dear client. I don't even know if he's here. Maybe we can tag him. Suzanne, you know who I'm talking about here. And he probably would be okay with me mentioning his name. But when the therapist asked my daughter, who's dad talking to on his cell phone right now, she actually listed his name. This is one of our top clients. And like, I didn't even know she knew his name. But apparently she had picked that up, right? She was probably 7 at the time, 7 or 8 at the time. And so that is a person who I do love dearly, but he and I do see things differently around the whole mental health thing, which is fine. That's part of the journey. That's part of the mission. That's part of evangelizing this idea. Um, and I've told him this story, and he has told others this story numerous times. In fact, I bring this picture up in many contexts when we're out, because he loves telling the story. I like telling the story because it has, deeper implications for the people that we're talking to. But he's part of this story. And then one of our team members, one of our employees, is the guy that's lying there on the right-hand side next to me, because that's the other person that Emmy would hear me talking to. So super interesting to see what our kids pick up. And man, they pick up a lot.
Oh, more than anybody gives them credit for, that's for sure. So turning this into, back to the folks who are here as well, and the print industry, and leading up to the conversation a little bit about Sheet for Brains. How would you define mental health in the context of the print industry? And again, by a quick scan here, it looks like the majority of our folks here are from within the print industry. And how do you personally start or encourage those conversations about mental health, knowing that 75% of people really don't want to? Were those stats surprising to you, by the way?
No, I mean, I see that lived out. It's not surprising to me. I talk to as many people as I can about it, and I wish it weren't that, but that's why we have a huge opportunity with this movement. In terms of how I would define it for the print industry, it's like what one analog here is that sustainability of paper products and such is important, right? The sustainability initiatives around our earth and the things that we need to be concerned about around that. But equally important, if you're a print company or a marketing services company that's using paper printed products, is the sustainability of our people. And so a lot of times, we'll talk about, what are you doing to ensure sustainability of your people? And I think that's something that resonates for some. For some, it doesn't hit as much as the idea of just wanting to ensure that your people are as healthy as they can be, because it's actually good for business, right? So it really depends on who I'm talking to, who we're engaging in terms of what their interest is around mental health. Some, it just immediately gives them permission to share their own story and be like, wow, I didn't know that this was actually okay to talk about. But I think the second bullet that you had on there, do you have another slide around how this whole thing started, Joanne? Or is that the time to talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's coming. It's coming. I mean, you're welcome to
Okay.
tease it out. You're welcome to tease it out. We don't have to follow the order. It's all good.
I'll hold it. Yeah, but generally, what was the second question on there? Let me just see that again real quick.
How do you start conversations about mental health with the folks at Mindfire?
Yeah, I just at Mindfire or in the industry at large, I just talk. I just share my story. I just probe, or I wear the shirt. This actually works a lot. I wear it on planes in the airport, or the other version that we have. I wear it to customer meetings. I wear it to dinners. And I get a lot of looks when I'm wearing this shirt, even from random strangers, and they're like, what is that shit for brains? What is that, right? Even folks on the street. And that's the desired effect, is that we want people to stop and say, hey, Dave, Joanne, what is that? What is that all about? And if they're in the print industry, they immediately get, when I say it's sheet and it's play off of, the other word, they immediately get the tie-in. And it creates that conversation. And I just look for those little organic opportunities to engage people in real conversation and share our story, share my story, share the origin story of the group. Chris Min and John Bailey and Jessica DeCola, who we'll talk about here in a moment, are as much a part of this, if not more than me, and are also doing the same thing, just when the opportunity comes up, having those real conversations with people.
Thanks. Oh, now what did I just do? There we go. I'm having fun here. Everyone is just so everybody in the team is cringing right now. I'm just having fun punching buttons. You gotta look for the good in the chaos. I'm gonna, we've got a lot of other stuff to talk about. I'm curious, for the group as well as you personally, how does having a good support network impact you at home and professionally? And I want everybody, go into the chat and tell us, do you have a good support network? Do you have somebody that you feel you can open up to and have those conversations? And I guess that's really the first questions. Do you feel like you could have that conversation? And if not, Dave, how can we help people start those conversations and build that network?
I think for me, it's I'm a big believer in therapy and in talk therapy. I started when I was a teenager. I probably had half a dozen different therapists over the years, and I would say probably the first 3, 4, maybe even the first 5, I went more out of a duty to try to address the underlying anxiety and other issues that I have, depression, and less so about what's happened more recently in the last 2 years or so, which is, this realization that as I've gotten older and as I've become more visible in the industry, it's hard to have honest conversations with people for fear of what would happen with that information. And so, like, I can't talk to all my team members about all of the stuff that's going on. I can't talk to all of our investors, shareholders, because, it would scare some people if I was truly honest. And so that whole idea of being truly honest, which is what I want to do, I want to be authentic. But I was thinking to myself, where is there a place where I can be truly honest? And what would happen? Is the world going to end if I'm truly honest? I wanted to, because that was a big fear of mine. If I really tell somebody what I'm thinking, man, they're going to think I'm a nutbag. And so what I realized was like, oh, wait a second, I know exactly where I can do that. I can do that in the context of therapy. That is, they're legally bound. They're there for me, and it's a safe space where whatever I share, there's no judgment. And so when I re-engaged with a new therapist about 2 years ago, that was kind of the thought experiment: was what is it like to be truly honest, truly vulnerable with somebody, where there's no judgment, and that has been really freeing. So for me, that's kind of where this journey was kind of reignited, in understanding that when I share these things, it seems so heavy to us, to you, to me. When we share it with somebody else, that load lightens a bit, and the world goes on. It doesn't end, and that kind of gave me the courage to start doing that more with other people outside of the context of therapy. Does that make sense?
That's such an interesting perspective, though. Just the way you put the world still goes on, and I
Yep.
know you and I have had conversations about this before, and I've asked you this question. How do you? It's easy. I mean, you can go online; they're a dime a dozen. But how do you find one that you can trust? It's almost, it's a little, yes, you can trust them because yes, they're legally bonded, but is it still somebody you feel you can trust? Like, how do you get yourself over that hurdle
Yeah.
of telling a complete stranger,
Yeah.
especially if it's online,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
How do you make that leap of faith? And how do you recognize if you've made the wrong choice and need to find a different one? Because I know I've, there are a lot of people, myself included, there's been more than one. Like,
Yeah.
there's different people throughout your life that offer and provide this type of service.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you know?
Yeah. How do you know if he or she is the one, right?
Yeah.
I saw what Deb said here, that I always say if people knew what was in my head, they would have many questions. Deb, I totally resonate with that, right? That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
exactly it right there. Probably more than just questions, Deb, but I would say, so first of all, I do it in person, Joanne. I do it in person. And I think that I'm a big, I saw Eric, my brother Eric, use the word vibe in the chat, that it's always based on vibe. And I was going to say something similar. For me, it's I have and I didn't realize that this isn't true for everyone, but that's a whole other story about coming to that realization about myself. But I feel people's energy. I don't know how to describe it. I feel energy. And so, like, when I interview the therapist, I can feel the energy from the other person,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
either jives or it doesn't. And that's usually the first indicator for me. The other thing, I'm maybe wired a little weird. I'd love to know in the chat if this is also you guys. Um, I have a much easier time talking to complete strangers than I do people I know. Being open and vulnerable, I could much more easily tell a complete stranger, Deborah, Corin, all of those things that we have in our heads. For some reason, I'm wired that way. A complete stranger that I meet in Europe or that I meet in some other part of the world, much easier than somebody that's
What
close to me.
happens if you run into them at a conference 6 months later and you're like, oh, I was
Yeah,
never supposed to See you again.
Usually these are people on planes and airports and coffee shops, those kinds of things. They're usually not in our professional circles. But so for me, talking to a therapist who is a complete stranger at the beginning is actually easier in many cases than it is talking to somebody super close to me. So I I believe that the answer is going to be different for everyone. You have to find what's going to work for you. But for me, it's the vibe, like Eric, you were saying. It's that energy. I pick up on that. And then I'm fortunately wired in a way where it is easy for me to talk to another person who's a stranger.
And do you go with referrals? Do you go online? What's your process for choosing, you know, selecting that therapist?
Yeah, it was kind of serendipity this last time around. Coming out of the pandemic, which is when I started to look, it was super hard to find a therapist. They were all booked up in our area. Obviously, there was a big need. So when I went online, I submitted probably half a dozen inquiries, said, here's what I'm looking for, here's where I'm at, here's what I would like to do next. If you know me, that's my style, right? I'm pretty clear with what I want. And probably 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7 of them were like, sorry, I'm booked up, don't have any time. And so the one that did respond, I was like, okay, this is a nudge maybe in that direction, let's go check it out. And she ended up being perfect fit for me. So serendipity, if it hadn't been a good vibe, then I would have gone on to look at the next one for sure.
Wow. Thank you. Sheet for brains. We've teased it out enough. We've talked about it a little bit. What was the inspiration to start this movement? I know what the feedback has been, but please share with everyone the feedback that you've received, especially after doing your first live Sheet for Brains
Event.
session.
Yep.
And then what's up next? Like, tell us what can we expect from Sheet for Brains?
So, Suzanne, if you're there, or any of our friends that are in the chat that know us all, could you tag John Bailey, Jessica DeCola, and Chris Min? So the three of us are the ones that came together to start this. And the genesis behind this, the inspiration behind it, was at Dscoop. As you can see here on my shirt, another shout out to another partner. There you go, Dscoop. Huge supporters of the movement. And this was not Long Beach, but the year before. Where was that, Joanne? Do you remember? I can't remember where it was.
Indy. Wasn't that in Indy?
Okay.
Indy.
And yeah, and so at Indy, John Bailey, who was the chairman of the board, was passing the baton on to David Bennett, and they asked John to come up on stage and share a little bit about what Dscoop has meant and kind of that transition. And honestly, I knew of John. I'd always looked up to him and respected him, and he's a super cool guy. I think everybody wants to be John, maybe only me, but he's just a cool guy. And so when he went up there, I was like, okay, cool. I want to hear what he has to say. And he went up and shared in a way that is super uncommon for a keynote or a speaker in a forum like that. Just so authentically from his heart around how Dscoop has meant for him a community where he's had people who can support him in moments where he feels like giving up. He gave a story around how one Dscoop he went to, he just lost his largest client, and he showed up at Dscoop, and there were people asking him in the elevators, "How you doing?" And he was saying, "Everything's good, everything's great," but inside he was like, "This is terrible. I don't want to be here." And I had never heard anybody say something like that in a business context. But that's exactly what goes on in my head. Whenever I see somebody in the elevator, or when I would meet people, 9 times out of 10, 99 out of 100, Eric Vessels, you probably know this. It's very uncommon for someone to say, well, things are actually not that good right now. I'm hurting. Or I don't want to be here. Or I'm anxious in this setting. I don't like talking to people. Those things are I think what a lot of us have in our head, but don't come out on stage. And so when John said that, when he shared in that way, I was like, man, this really touched me. This really moved me. So I went up to him. Actually, I think he was sitting next to me, if I recall. And I said, hey, dude, that was amazing. We got to do more of this. This is exactly what I feel so many people here in the audience need. Would you be interested in talking about it further? And that's what started it. He got a similar message or conversation from Jessica DeCola at GPA, and And Chris Min, who was with Infigo at the time, also approached him. And then he just started texting us, brought us all together. And was like, hey, you guys are all saying the same thing. Maybe we need to take a look at this. And so we started meeting in Zoom for what we thought was going to be kind of a businessy, how do we structure this kind of thing? And it turned into quasi therapy sessions where we would bring things to the table and he would lean back, he would give advice. We started a text thread, which has a bazillion text messages in it a day where we're supporting each other. So the four of us have really come together in a way that's really unique from all parts of the world. John and Chris are on the other side of the world. Jess is in Chicago. I'm on the West Coast most of the time. And so from that time there where John Bailey shared on stage to, a few weeks thereafter, this thing has just snowballed between us, between the community. We created, webinars with different pillar themes and experts that we brought on, like Glenn Packiam and others. And so through that, Dscoop remained incredibly supportive. That culminated in our first kind of in-person event there at Dscoop in Long Beach. If you were there, let us know in the chat. Were you there in the room? Just really remarkable. You were there, Joanne. Yeah, really remarkable opportunity to bring all of the sheet heads together and just be open, honest, and vulnerable. And so we're just super excited to continue seeing where this goes. There are folks that want to sponsor, that want to get involved. All of these shirts, all of the swag, everything that we have has been from the community. And there are some days where I wake up and think, maybe I should be doing this full time, but we'll see. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Suzanne, did you hear that?
She knows. She knows.
Wow. I'm hoping, I don't even, I can't even catch up with what's going on in the chat. It's just flying by. I'm eager to see all of the comments as we move forward. We have about 6 or 7 minutes left.
Okay.
Before we're supposed to end. So that really gives us maybe 3-4 minutes. And I want to touch on a couple of things that you spoke about. One where you said, somebody asked how you are. It's very hard to answer, I just don't want to be here. I remember myself, shortly after my mom passed, I had to go and run a user group conference. Yeah. And run the social media for the user group. I think it was like within 2 weeks, like it was still extremely raw. And I had to smile and I had to do selfies and I had to take pictures and I had to be the hostess and I had to run the full event. And it was hard. It was really, really, really hard. But I again, generational, I grew up with, you suck it up and you deal with it after. And I couldn't be emotional. I couldn't let myself break down because then I would have been a complete wreck. It's like, they always say if you're on a plane and it's going down, you have to put the mask on yourself first.
Yep.
Before you put it on your child. And that I just felt like I just had to sort of remove myself, put the mask on of, salvation so that I could move forward. And I often wonder, is that how everybody thinks? Like, how do you move forward? I've learned a lot since then. I talk about it in my book. One of the chapters is you're fired. Now what? Because Lord knows I've been fired enough times and had the rug pulled from under me more than enough times. So what do? Do you get up and dust yourself off and carry on? At some point, it will catch up to you. It does catch up to you. And that's where I feel, in particular, the print industry, because it's sort of the old guard, is now at a state where, 1/2 foot out of retirement or looking towards retirement, you've got a whole lifetime, probably 5-6 decades of dusting it off. And it doesn't take much to break you. And I think what you're doing with Sheet for Brains is at the right time. It's just at the right time. It's at the time where I feel, and I know this because of the conversations that I have with a lot of folks in the industry, of course, you and everybody else as well. But when you do finally have the time to have that real conversation, okay, how are you really doing? Like you find 5 minutes together. We've spent, hey, 10 minutes on a bench somewhere. You start to feel how much is just like right under the surface, ready to explode.
Yep.
And again, like there's so many people out there in that situation, and there are a lot, they might not be able to go to a therapist. They might not feel for whatever reason. So, but we all know you have to talk to somebody. So how do you create that safe space? And I do believe you're doing that with Sheet for Brains on a number of levels, but how as a group are you sort of ensuring that safe space for people to come forward and have those conversations?
So in every online event that we do, every webinar or the in-person event or anything from here, we have a code of conduct, and one of those things is this is a sacred place, a safe place. So we have a list of rules, no judgment, and things like that to keep the discussions that happen in the context of those meetings, if you will, those webinars and sessions, is private and confidential, within the context of that group. And so we just expect everyone to lean in and be adult about it and understand that we're all here trying to help each other. And so far, we haven't had any issues, but it's something we talk a lot about, wanting to make sure that we maintain confidence and that we're just there for people, to give them permission to start to share. In fact, I just dropped my cell phone number in the chat. That's my personal cell phone, 949-375-4459. If you need anything, text me. If you're not comfortable talking to me, you'd rather talk to a lady, we got Jessica. I can connect you with Jess. If you're going to talk to John Bailey or Chris Mann, they're all available as well. I'm always happy to help. And just, even if it's just give you encouragement, folks, please reach out. Joanne, if you can carry the conversation for 30 seconds, I've got 2% left on this iPad. Do you need me to plug in and charge?
Perfect timing. Perfect timing. So I'm going to do a little bit of a wrap up, and I did promise everybody an announcement. So that is coming up. And while I'm doing that, and while Dave is recharging, if you have any questions for Dave, for me, for anybody in the Sheet for Brains, head over to the chat, put them in there. Like I said, we are willing to stay to the top of the hour. And we're here to continue that conversation. Next month, our webinar in August is, I'm really excited about that. It's our lead gen masterclass. I'm going to be talking about the power of case studies, how to turn insight into income. So please mark your calendars for August 27th at noon. And the moment we have all been waiting for, please mark your calendars for September 24th, where we will be joined by the entire Sheet for Brains team. It is a live Zoom meetup, so you will not be restricted to the comments. Everybody will be there. You can hide your face, show your face, but we can all speak our voice. Unfortunately, Dave wasn't in the picture when I took this picture, so I think he'll get a chuckle when he comes back and sees that I've done a very poor job not photoshopping him into the picture, but adding him in as well. But I'm so looking forward to kicking off the kind of start, the unofficial start to the final quarter of the year. The end of summer, we're all going to be back with our heads on and really looking to the end of the year. And there's a lot on everybody's plate. And I'm really excited about what we will be doing together on the 24th of September. See, perfect timing, Dave.
You should see the hotel room. I've destroyed it. I had to move stuff around. They're going to think that I had some wild party in here, but no, it's just a webinar. But Joanne, I would love to hear what questions people have. Have we seen any in the chat? I would love to know what people are thinking. Hey, Paul, it's good to see you.
Yes, Paul, Elizabeth, my darling, I am giving you a virtual hug here because it's been a while, and you are one strong lady, and I applaud you for that. And I just wanted to say a virtual hi and a virtual hug.
And Eric is here.
Yeah.
Eric, I love you, man. You've been Eric is another one who is Eric, you're a bear of a man. You're large and imposing, and you've been a big figure in the industry in multiple ways, right? But Eric has got a heart of gold, and is in touch with his feelings in a way that is just inspiring, at least for me as a dude. So Eric, I love you, man. Thank you for what you've done for me, and that you've been there for me for many of our conversations.
I'm starting to see some questions. Again, I really want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you so much, Dave. Like, we didn't even touch on half of what I wanted to, but we got through, I think, a lot of really tough questions, and I'm going to keep, attention to this for when we have the whole team on, to really dig deep and share more. Again, there's questions. I see Alicia left a question. How do I move forward after a rug pull? Why do you think my brand is Distinctive Chameleon? I've changed and adapted more times than I can count. And yes, you have, Alicia. You are also an amazing lady who has gone through a lot in a very short period of time. Everybody here, so many strong people, and I fear for us all, because our strength can be our kryptonite. So
yeah,
like, I want to make sure we are all here taking care of each other. I'm seeing Karen, Paul, thank you so much. Amanda, you are truly a legend. You are like Xena, warrior princess. That's what I think of when I think of you, Amanda. Chris Jordan, intuitive. Right when to hit me with a message. You seem to have this sixth sense of when you need to reach out, and I appreciate you for that. Karen, how can I get on the chat? You're on the chat, my dear. This is it. It's the LinkedIn comments. You are in it. Yeah, Chris, gotta go. Are you seeing these comments, Dave?
I am. Yeah, I can see them. Yep. Alicia's saying we're all going through something. Love each other. We are all we have. Yep. I think the other thing that I was going to say there, Joanne, is just to give each other grace. And this is as much for me as it is for anybody else, I think. But so often, I make a story in my head, or I jump to a conclusion about somebody's motives, or what they're after, what they're trying to do, and you never know where somebody's at. You never know what's going on, what's really going on that's motivating, how they're responding or engaging with you. So for me, it's just always reminding myself, I need that grace. I want that to be passed on to me, and what better way than to lead by example and try to do it. I'm certainly not perfect, far from it, but just to give each other grace.
Is it easier for you to give grace to somebody else or to yourself?
Oh, you kidding me? You know the answer, right? Yeah.
It's so, and I have to remind myself all the time when your brain is beating you up, to say, like, if a friend, if a stranger, if anybody came up to me with this exact same problem, what would I say to them? How would I talk to them? How would I respond? And what advice, if they asked, would I give? And so why the hell am I hearing this in my head?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No doubt. I mean, that's one of the things my therapist says to me, is she's like, oh my gosh, you're just beating yourself up. I'm like, yes, I know that. And she's like, what would you say if somebody in the industry came up and said that to you? I'd be like, well, of course I'd love on them. I'm like, okay, well, how come I can't love on myself in the same way? So yeah, totally get it.
It's really tough. Okay, it looks like folks are we're wrapping up here. This has been amazing. Again, Dave, thank you. I know you are all over the place, and the fact that you took the time out to join us today and speak about such a huge topic that is so important and so critical. I just want to make sure. Oh, of course, there's my little promo slide. I should probably do that, right? Promote.
I put Joanne, I put my cell phone number again there in the chat. And
Yeah.
those of you who do have my number, you can verify for the rest of the team here that this is my number, of course. I do have people who think it's my AI agentic response system. But no, right now you have really me at the other end of that. So anybody, if you're hurting, if you want somebody to talk to you, if you want to take a next step, if you want to be involved, or if you just want to say hi, text me.
David, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Yep.
I will see you on Zoom in